Hello and welcome to the Part-Time Gamers, the gaming podcast for people with full-time lives. I nearly burped into the microphone just as we came live. I'm Cyranex, clocking in with my good friend, 9 of 12.
Hi there.
Hi. Man, it's been a week, actually 2 weeks since we've had a show, and it's holy crap. There's a lot of things that have happened. If you'd like to know what happened, we discussed it somewhat in depth over the last couple minutes in our pre-show. Yeah. Oh man, still just trying
Old
to wake
lady
up.
shakes fist at sky.
Yeah. Yeah. Just overall, government kind of sucks. Yeah. Even in,
Well,
local
it's our
levels.
job to fix it.
Yeah.
I am very proud of you for you and your family going to the meeting. Yeah.
I personally didn't go. My wife and my kids went, and yeah, it's from what she told me about the meeting. There was stupidity on both sides of the podium. There was one, like, it was
They can be rough.
Yeah, apparently it started to get a little unruly, and they actually were like trying to maintain order. And one of the city councilmen or whatever was trying to speak, and someone in the back of the room, because you mentioned the 3-minute rule for people being able to talk. And one of the guys in the back yells at the speaker, just like, "You're over your 3 minutes." And needless to say, they didn't like that comment. They actually ended the meeting early because of all of the commotion that was going on.
Not good form.
Yeah.
Everyone,
anyway. So, yeah.
Make sure your local committees have parliamentarians. Is my advice.
Yeah, it was not a good experience from what I was told. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and yeah. In other news, we have a game to talk about. It's probably going to take a lot of time to talk about because it is a very big game. And in fact, we're going to be putting this into another 2-parter. We're going to be doing a follow-up on this next week as well. So, but let's go ahead and get to work.
Morning break is over. Morning break is over.
All right. We are going to be starting our discussion on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And yeah, when we were initially started doing these, I did intend for them to be just a 1-part, like we normally do this, but we started to realize that these games in particular have a lot to discuss. Not just story, but mechanics and, and also comparisons to the original story as well. And so much so that, like, for like the research that we did for this in particular was a video. I don't remember what the person's name was. I should probably find the person's name on their channel, because they did this insane amount of work. Yeah, looks like Alexander on YouTube.
Yeah, ALEXZANDXR.
Yeah. He did this whole, what he refers to as a narrative analysis, and I can't read the rest of the title, but this narrative analysis of
and retrospective.
Okay, yeah. He did Remake. The video for Remake was, I think, about 3.5 hours long. And then, of course, did one for Rebirth, continuation of it. This video is 9 hours long. It is an exhaustive analysis of the game, going so far as to, like, find information, like comparing scenes to the original, how, like, different parts of the story varied from this to the original. Even, like, going so far as to analyze the blocking and the cinematography of the cutscenes and how that lends itself to the story. Really,
yeah, and it's insane. Like, and it's a lot, and it's there are parts of it I feel like it's fever dreamy, because here's the thing: the Final Fantasy games aren't one story.
Yeah.
They use the same characters over and over and over, and you get their personal stories, right? But that develop contained in each story. But the plots and the settings, each game is self-contained. And
Yes.
so much of the tying and desperately trying to tie the lore together with uh, it's a different timeline or whatever, and trying to find common elements where for some of the beginning ones there just isn't, but it's it's like it's been done after the fact. The games are popular because the mechanics are good and they do stay up to date with what technology is available, keeping them pretty to look at,
Yeah.
and keeping the mechanics interesting. So like the game design in these is good, but
Yeah.
and they've been feeding off that success and the name recognition for decades now.
Yeah.
And they they could have named them something else. They could have created new characters, and
Oh.
then there wouldn't have to be all these tenuous threads.
Uh, I mean, they could have gone with a different story entirely and made it a different Final Fantasy, but there's just something for like an entire generation. Like I never, like I said last time, I've never actually played the original. I just knew about it through osmosis from my friends who did play it. And there wasn't really like everything that they were describing for like story and stuff like that, the different characters and the different nuances for all everything that goes on in that story. I really was intrigued by it, and it makes for a great story. And so much so that for like an entire demographic of people, when you say Final Fantasy 7, they're thinking Final Fantasy or when you say Final Fantasy, they're thinking Final Fantasy 7. Oh, it is.
Yeah, but I'm not. And I didn't play any of those. Like my
Mm,
most experience with like Cloud with the main character in most of those, all the later ones is the Disney crossover, Kingdom Hearts,
Kingdom
right?
Hearts, yeah.
But when people talk about Final Fantasy in like OG respect, I think of way back, like Mystic Quest. Like I didn't play those,
Yeah.
but like my friends played them and I had seen them, and I think of that kind of thing, which is no attachment. Like, is Benjamin even in the stories anymore? Right? So anyway, all this pretense that it's one big story is held together with
Well, no,
chewing
keep in
gum.
mind when they're talking about like the possibility of alternate timelines, they're not talking about alternate Final Fantasy games. They're still talking about in the Final Fantasy 7 world.
I know.
Okay.
Like Rob was playing today this one, Rebirth.
Okay.
For those of you out there who are interested in giving it a go, it is beautiful. It's nifty. I think you do need some story background for this one to make any sense out of it, but
Yeah.
even that is going to be a challenge if you're story driven. Like I am very story driven to play a game. Like for me to want to learn a new combat system and inventory system and everything, I want to be invested in these characters and story. And you're being long cinematics and it should involve you in the character, but even right toward the beginning, it's available. You can get 2 chapters as a demo on Game Pass right now for free to play.
Yeah.
And we're doing that. And having watched part of the retrospective thing that Alexander posted, like Cloud is telling what happened when he went back to his hometown with Sephiroth. And then there are these weird glitchy black and white parts. And we're like, see, and I had explained to Rob, like, okay, so that's because there are inserted memories because that's the way he wished it was when he went home, and that's not the way he was greeted. And like that's really freaking complicated, immersive. Would have to figure out. It's
Yeah.
not real good at these are supposedly standalone, sure to go play. But for the story, to just drop in right there,
Well,
it'd take for a long time to figure out what's actually going on.
yeah. I mean, and that's the point. I mean, that's the thing about, because this takes place like immediately after remake. Oh,
Hmm.
so I mean, and just taking this game, oh, starting at that point and not having the context of what led up to that, yeah, it can be very confusing. Uh, I mean, even having that information, like even further information, it's still like trying to figure out what exactly I
That
was
made
going
it
to talk
worse,
about.
honestly.
What's that?
That made it worse, honestly, than just trying to like get through and like you could ignore the weird graphical hint if you didn't know and just believe what he was telling you
Yeah.
or what he was telling other characters and continue on and I guess figure that out down the line or not.
Yeah. I
It's
mean, they do like in the original story. I mean, I think part of it also is I think they do expect a little bit of knowledge of the original. Um, because there are like, I don't know. I think it's still
but
good
you're
on its
referring
own.
to 7 as the original.
What's that?
You're referring to 7 as the original though.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like I said, like when regarding the different Final Fantasy stories, they're all, yeah, like you said, they're all individual. So none of the other ones are connected to Final Fantasy 7. Oh, except just the original, the original Final Fantasy 7 compared to this one. Um oh man, it's like trying to figure out what I was going to even talk about in this episode was giving me anxiety, like just like the overwhelmed paralysis, because there is so much going on. And knowing what is going on because of knowledge of the previous game, of the research that I've looked up and everything like that, it's very, if you didn't have any of that, if you're just, the only context you have was just the story as it's presented, uh things are very confusing. And that it's supposed to be at that point, though. You're just supposed to have this feeling that's like something is just off and not really be able to explain it. Because, like, yeah, the first chapter is him recounting the events that took place 5 years prior to the beginning of remake, with him and Sephiroth going into Nibelheim, which was Cloud and Tifa's hometown. It's where they grew up, where that's where they knew each other. And is the date basically the story of how Sephiroth became the villain. Because at that point, at the beginning of that flashback, he's a hero. He's like one of the best soldiers that Shinra has. And he was actually looked up to and glorified and everything. And this is
Even
the
though his
story of
hair
what
is
happened.
like has no practical combat value.
What's that?
Sorry. I was it's just a thing for me like looking at Sephiroth in this and like the character design in this is beautifully done for the most part. But that hair, I'm like, that's terrible hair for combat. That's so like getting caught on shit and getting in your
Yeah.
face and just like at least braid it. What's the matter with you? I mean, but then somebody can grab it. Like it was,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I
have
mean, that's
weird specific suspension of disbelief things. Like Tifa's guide outfit was offensive. Like, and not in just your normal fan service way. It wasn't. I mean, it's skimpy, but not like super skimpy,
yeah,
cleavage or anything. But why does it look like she's
like cowboy.
fan bounding Woody from Toy Story? Like it's like this like, cowboy thing completely doesn't fit in this
It
setting.
was the 90s. When
It
it
was
originally
just
came out, it was the 90s. That's the best explanation.
no.
It's Japanese.
So like is fetishizing definitely
Probably, yeah. It's
without
probably someone trying to insert their fetish into the game.
it's so
surreptitiously.
weird though.
I know but it's like that's one thing about this game and about Final Fantasy in general is like you're gonna find a character like that, like a situation in that like that in every Final Fantasy game. Oh, and it's part of it is just kind of it's Japanese. It's they do weird stuff regardless. I mean,
Sure.
that's the explanation I have. I agree that takes a little bit of suspension of disbelief or whatnot.
It's like,
But
why? What is she wearing?
yeah,
What is happening right now? This is like really pulled me out for a minute of this beautifully drawn place.
yeah. But yeah, that initial flashback is like the fall of Sephiroth and everything, how he became the villain, and what's interesting is after Cloud, like this is all Cloud recounting that event. He's telling like they've escaped Midgar. They're out in the countryside now, basically, and he's recounting the event to the rest of the group. And what's interesting is afterwards, Tifa confides with Aerith that she doesn't remember Cloud ever being there. So that's another kind of like something weird is going on. And you see, like either Cloud is straight up lying, or his memories are not what they should be, or Tifa's lying, or her memories aren't what they should be. But somewhere something isn't right. And I like that setup. Oh, they dabbled a little bit of that in remake, but they really go like in this part of the story, they really delve much deeper into
And
like
you're
just
spending
in
so
general.
much time in that part of the story, and it's already a flashback. You've already had a little bit of what's happening now
Yeah.
with Zack and like Ava. Like spoilers. Like, wait,
Yeah.
isn't she dead? Oh wait, we're in a flashback still. Like,
Yeah.
it's it's definitely way out of order. It's like watching friggin' Memento. Like, where are we? When are we?
Yeah. Yeah, that first segment can get pretty long. But yeah, and that's just I really like so to give a little bit of context of like the magnitudes of these different parts. When I before I started replaying through these, my gameplay time for Rebirth, well, for remake, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 60 something hours. Um, before I started going through more recently. Um, and that was to get through the like level up of stuff, get max level, get a bunch of stuff, go through the story, everything like that. About 60 something hours. Rebirth was over 200. There is a lot more. And one thing that I want to address as well is the like the amount of what would be considered like peripheral or like side questy type stuff between the two games. In remake, you had a couple different chapters where you had like, oh, you can go and do like about 9 or so side quests for these people around town. And but those are optional. They get you some extra stuff. That's about it. If you want to get maxed out your weapon levels and everything like that, you have to go through a bunch of these on hard mode. Uh, that kind of stuff. It's just kind of extra padding, but it doesn't really. It's more or less optional. And in regards to like mini game style stuff, a lot of it's optional or relatively easy. There's only like a couple different instances of like a mini game type thing. There's a rhythm, or like a rhythm, couple rhythm segments where you have to like press the right button at the right time type of thing. There's the motorcycle driving, and which when I originally played this, these options weren't available, but they have since patched it in where you can like for the motorcycle segments, you just can completely skip them, including the bosses that are
Okay.
associated with those.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about some of that, because like with Rob, and with us digging into Rebirth today a little, his memory of trying it when it came out was getting in there, having all these really long cinematics at the beginning, dying in an early fight, and then having to basically go back to the beginning with unskippable cinematics. He's like, ooh, I hope that, because he just put it down and never went back.
Yeah,
He's like, I hope they fix that.
yeah,
And he wasn't just dying this time, so I don't know if they fixed that or not. I'm assuming they did.
yeah. I mean, as far as I know, all the cutscenes are skippable. And also if you want to just like experience the story and you don't really care that much about the combat, they have what are referred to as streamlined progression options, which are just basically in-game cheats. Like you can just have constant max health. Like when I was going through hard mode to unlock all the stuff, unlock all the get all the they're called manuscripts to level up your weapons and stuff like that all the way. When I was just going through that, I just had infinite health, max damage. I just had a bunch of these things on because I just wanted to go through and clear all of it and then go back.
Well, and how far, like, do you get set back if you die?
Just I mean, as far as I know, you just I don't know. I haven't died very much.
Okay.
I mean, you can manually save whenever you want. Oh,
Yeah.
so I mean, most of the time it's like they have options to just restart the battle. Oh,
Okay. Yeah,
so
it sounds like they definitely fixed stuff that
yeah, yeah, they've definitely
it
made
was in.
some quality of life updates.
Retry from current battle phase.
Yeah, so like there's
Resets to the specific fighter phase immediately. But
yeah,
if you choose from last checkpoint, it can throw you back hours into previous chapters.
yeah, it just depends.
But that's an AI overview, so that could be wrong.
Yeah, it just depends because like I will frequently just manually save. Oh, and and I mean, I haven't really checked on like like where the checkpoints are and everything. But for the most part, if you die in a combat, you can usually just start from the beginning of that combat. If it's a multi-phase combat, you can usually either start from the beginning of that current phase, or you can just go back to the start of the fight. Or they even have, I think they get an option so that you can start from before the fight. So if you something like your gear is way off for whatever reason, you can just go back to just before the fight where you still have the option to change your gear and then go into the fight. So I think they've made changes.
Oh,
into
that's
those.
really
Yeah.
good. It's funny how I was like, okay, we can get a couple chapters for free, and I got homework for tonight. You want to play for a while? I said, I would just assume watch you play this kind of game,
Yeah.
and then I can just be absorbing everything, and like I will think of the questions, and I think
Yeah.
you can see how this is how my brain works, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up very much being like, other than watching how the combat works, how the weapons choices, how the spell choices, being end up being support. Like he's going up the hill and he's fighting this stuff, and I was like, so your heal spell, can you only use it during combat or can you use between? He's like, I don't know. And then he's like, oh, I should use one now. Yeah. Like he was down to like 50-40%, and I was like just kind of subtly hinting, like, and then it was okay, like, can you check now between battles? And he went and checked, and we were able to figure out, yes, you can do it between or during, which I thought was really important, because like there are games that don't let you
and
except when you're playing, and I mean, depending on whether it's a potion mechanic or a spell mechanic, and it could be a problem. And so I liked that it had that included, and it was just kind of funny because we weren't playing together, but I was playing support like I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are certain things like the healing material you can use in between and outside of combat. But there are certain ones that you can only use inside combat. Like most of the rest of the stuff is mostly combat related. There are a couple, like I said, there are a couple options outside combat. But yeah,
I will say it was also for first time players very good with tutorial.
Yeah.
Like the whole first chapter is a lot of whenever there's something new you can do, whether it's a new look at this part of the menu and it will explain how it works, a new control for a new action.
Yeah.
That was solid. That that's something that can be very frustrating when a game leaves out.
Yeah. Oh, and because overall, I really like the combat in this. Um, I mean, if you can get to the point where like it can be a little button mashy at times if you're kind of panicked. But you can like my characters are usually set up for some sort of melee combat where I don't really have to do a whole lot of actions. Uh, but then you can have like really get in depth with there's so much like healthy crunch in this game where you can just like okay I can have set this character up so I can cast haste on with magnify and make it affect everyone and have it so that the duration is extended or anything like that. So like okay, so all my characters have really good ATB generation. I can like start doing a bunch of different abilities. I have my Tifa set up so that she is an ATB battery where she like if she does two moves in a row, she gives a boost of ATB to everyone else. And, you know, it's like she has, you know, tons of different things like that. I love being
What
able
is
to have all
that?
these
I don't know what
options.
that is.
And so that's very much the same kind of progression from remake to into rebirth, except they expanded even further because they give you a whole lot more different types of materia. Uh, like like eventually, I still really like I actually like how they have limited the materia like they did in remake. So there's certain materia that you can only get a certain number of, uh, but they're kind of ridiculously powerful. Like you can get one that's called Swift Cast, where all of a sudden your spells just don't have a cast animation at all. It doesn't matter like how powerful they are; they just happen immediately, which might not seem like a big deal, but it can really be a big deal. Uh, yeah, you
I'm
can.
looking up ATB generation because I don't.
Okay, it's ATB.
If you would explain that mechanic.
So ATB, or in the original, was referred to as active active time battle. So in it
Yeah.
was the original for like Final Fantasy, I think 4 through 9
Yeah, it looks like it
were
debuted in 4.
yeah 4 through 9. They weren't true turn based. Your characters effectively had a cooldown. So it was represented by this bar that was called that they referred to as ATB. Once that bar filled up, that character was able to act.
That's, yeah,
In
neat. Active time battle. Got it.
Yep. In remake, it's a little bit different. Uh, it's not. It is a little bit of a kind of a cooldown, but it's basically it's a bar that represents. It's the currency for your abilities. So anytime you want to cast a spell or use a special ability on your character, you have at least one full ATB bar, and you have two normally. There are
So
some
physical
abilities that
attacks like
require
fill the bar, and then you can use
yeah.
that
So
energy
like
to cast things with
yeah,
materia.
pretty much.
Gotcha.
Oh, but it's like so Tifa and Red 13 and Yuffie, all like any speed character, that's their main feature is because of speed affects how quickly that ATB bar fills up. So those characters are able to do a lot of abilities and spells and stuff like that because they're able to fill up that bar very quickly. And you can use that. There's a materia called ATB assist, I believe, that makes it so anytime you use two abilities in quick succession, you give an ATB boost to everyone else. So I have Tifa specced out for speed, has that. She's able to do two moves really quickly, a lot, and able to fill up everyone else's ATB bars with that. Anyways, that's all mechanical stuff. Uh, but um, yeah, you get some really powerful materia in this one, and the max level in remake was 50. The max level in this is 70. So all of your equipment's going to be more powerful. Like in excuse me, in remake, your weapons maxed out, I believe, at 6 materia slots, and you had one piece of armor that had 4 materia slots. More commonly, you would get ones with 3. So you had a relatively limited amount of materia slots in remake. In rebirth, you still have your weapon still can get up to 6. but you can get armor, bracelets or whatever, that can get up to 8. So you have a lot more options for materia. Um, so, and I imagine they're going to go even further. Like John was mentioning our first time talking about remake, how like in the original they had weapons that had 3 materia slots linked. Normally you only have 2, 3 linked. It's going to get interesting in Revelation in that regard. But I really like the advancements in the actual combat and the mechanics and stuff like that. They've made it so that in remake, your weapons were like the key to leveling up your character, powering up your character. In this, it's in Rebirth, it's a little bit different. You still have your weapons; they still have their own abilities that you can choose to help power up your character. But they also have what's referred to as a folio, which gives you a whole other mechanic to level up your characters, including being able to turn like elemental spells basically into just abilities that don't require any mana, uh, which can be a big deal if you want to go into hard mode. Uh, which in hard mode you don't normally regain MP between battle or like using a bench. Uh, so you have a very limited resource. Um, anyway, one of the aspects that I really want to dig into is we were talking about a little while ago. We were talking about all the mini games and stuff like that, the different things that they have. In remake, it was relatively limited. It makes sense. The remake was much more story based, much more linear in its storytelling because it's all confined to one city. Now in Rebirth, you're out in the world. You're out of Midgar, and you're just in the wider world of Gaia. Uh, so there's one aspect that anyone who has listened to our show for a while knows that I do not normally like open world games.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and this turns into more or less an open world game. The way they did it, though, I think was the key to why I still enjoyed it. Uh, One of the main reason why I'm not particularly fond of open world games is because oftentimes they overwhelm me with options. They just like, okay, here's the entire world. Go and do what you want. And my response is, why? uh, what I think worked well in Rebirth that a lot of these other like more common open world games, uh, what they do, Rebirth is still very story driven, very chapter driven. And it's very regional. So the fact that you go into a region,
You still want to follow the quest you have.
yes, you still want to follow the quest, but even in that interim, it's like they don't give you everything right away. They segment it depending on what part of what part of the story you're at, what region you have access to. They segment it off, so you don't have everything right away. So it's not like, oh, I go into the world and I have 127 different icons on the screen that are all begging me to do something about it. No, it's like, okay, I go into this next region on this specific chapter and I have like 10 things. And then it's like, okay, that's a surmountable number. I go and do those things and then I go on to the next chapter. Oh, it's another region. I have another 9 things in this region. Okay, I can do that. And then it's like, okay, we're later in the game. I can backtrack to different locations now. And it's like, okay, I have these other I'm still a little bit early in I they make it so that it's much more segmented. And I think that worked really well for me in regards to the open world stuff because I have all of the open world stuff completed. Oh, so eventually once I get back to my replay of Rebirth, I only have to focus on the story. because they have it set the like even if you go back and do chapter selection and everything like that, you have the option to make it so that you don't like you have all the side content completed regardless. So I'm really looking forward to getting to Rebirth and not having to do any of the side content at all, just being able to mainline the story. Because I've already gone through and gotten everything. And that's the thing is most of it's surmountable regardless. Like if you want more of a challenge, like it'll get you like some items and such, but none of them are really that important. Uh, and then also they have those same streamline progression options in Rebirth as well, which is one of the things I did. And they actually have specifically an option for mini games because there are a lot more in this in Rebirth. There are a lot because one of the locations you go to is the Golden Saucer. I keep forgetting if it's just gold or golden. I think it's gold saucer. Uh, which is basically a theme park and an arcade. So obviously they're going to have games and stuff like that to play there. It makes sense that they have this specific location has a bunch of mini games.
It is gold saucer.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, they have an option of one of the streamline progression options is just deal max damage in mini games. So that makes it so much easier. I mean, if you can say what you want about all the other options, I would just turn that on regardless. Because make all the mini games easier. And so that just yeah. If there are any complaints I have regarding Rebirth, it is like they do go a little bit overboard on the mini games. Oh, but it kind of makes sense again because of the gold saucer. The other big complaint I have, Chadley needs to shut the fuck up, like all the time. He just needs to shut up. He's just Chadley, just shut up. He talks way too much. He is incredibly annoying. I'm glad that you can skip his dialogue because it's all dumb and he's abusive to his assistant. It makes me want to punch him every time I need to interact him with him.
All right.
I'm glad that I don't have to interact with him ever again. Really, other than that, I don't have any other complaints. I think the way that the
Chad
the
is a Chad. Okay.
yeah. And the funny thing is, like, that's a very common thing is people hate Chadley. And I don't blame them. He is irritating.
That sounds like he was designed that way. Good job.
Maybe. Oh. But mechanically, I like how they advanced a lot of the mechanics from remake. Kept what worked. Made a couple changes that added a little bit more depth to the combat. So like they have the one thing that is kind of confusing is they added what they refer to as synergy skills and abilities. It's very difficult for me to remember which is which. But that's also in addition to a materia called the synergy materia. But then they have like an assist synergy materia, which is something completely different. It's like they really like the word synergy.
Damn it.
Yeah. It's like I'm surprised Chadley wasn't talking about how he wanted to start a webinar or something like that. How much they love the word synergy. But it's like synergy skills are very quick things that it's like it's dependent on what characters you have in your party. So it adds this extra element of I want to have this certain thing, access to this certain ability. So that means I need to have this other character in my party. And like the synergy skills are usually like they have a defensive and offensive ones. They're usually really quick. It's like one is Tifa can call on Barrett to basically jump in front of her and use him as a bodyguard. Or she can call on either like Aerith or Cloud to launch her up into the air to hit aerial targets. Those are I believe those are the synergy skills. Whereas synergy abilities are basically almost like mini limit breaks. They're these really cinematic, really powerful moves that require two people in the party. And what's unique about those is each one has an added effect, not just the damage, but they also like some of them are like a refocus. So refocus in this, it gives that ATB bar is normally put into two segments. Refocus puts it into 3, but it still is the same amount. So you're able to use your abilities faster. Oh,
Ah.
because instead of needing 50% of that bar, you need only 33%. So you can use your stuff faster. There's one that makes it so that temporarily your spells don't require MP points. MP point. The P in MP is points. Anyway, there's like one where it makes it so that you just increase damage, or you do increased stagger damage to the target. And it affects both people involved, regardless of who initiated the combo. Oh, so that's another level of complexity and crunch to the combat. It is really interesting. Like I said, I like that crunch uh, of like trying to figure out, okay, I want this character to be able to do this. How am I going to build it together and everything? I really like that. I like how they have advanced the mechanics that way. Like I said, I actually kind of liked the open world stuff because it wasn't super overwhelming. It did add a little bit of a breath from the story itself, because there are some, especially in this game, there are some aspects of this story that are heartbreaking. You know, I really like this Rebirth because you really start to dive into the background of the characters, and like finding out about Barrett's past is heartbreaking. It is, because like even like when you go into, because you go to Barrett's original hometown in this, and to just see he's apprehensive to go there in the first place. You don't know why at first, and then when he crosses the bridge and goes into the city, or goes into the town, which is barely even that, it's, you know, a slum basically, and he is insulted, and like someone pours what looks like wine on his head, and just like abusive towards him. His whole demeanor of being this very boisterous, very tough, you know, giant black man, to basically become like getting the demeanor of a like 3 foot tall, you know, just weakling in his posture and his, you know, demeanor at that moment. It's very jarring, and you find out why throughout that chapter and a little bit later as well, and it's just heartbreaking to hear his story. uh you know, to find out about like how Tifa nearly died uh in that flashback sequence. She gets attacked by Sephiroth and nearly killed. You find out about that. You find out about, you know, her whole past. You find out about, you know, Aerith with her mother. Uh, you, know, you find out about, you know, Red 13's whole past, and how he was like experimented on by Hojo, who's the Shinra's biological scientist. Uh, and it's like you find out all this stuff, and then you find out about Cloud a lot of the times through the lens of these other characters observing him, which is really interesting. You find out more about him when they're talking about him rather than when he talks about himself, because he's already kind of established himself as an unreliable narrator in this respect. Um, and it gets dark with him, uh, because his whole like his interactions with Sephiroth, you know, Sephiroth is trying to manipulate him, and it gets dark at times with him. Um, and it becomes very unnerving at times in the story. Uh, and what, yeah, it's just there's so much nuance. Like I love the character development in this game. I love the story that they're telling. I love what they're I really like what they're leading to. And I think if there were specific words that I want to use to describe the different chapters so far, the different parts of this trilogy so far, like especially when it comes to like the whole like multiple timelines type theory, which they've kind of started going into. In remake, it was implication, where because like they're implying that there's things that can be changed, fate can be defied, because of the existence of these whispers trying to make sure that it's not defied. Implies that it can be, and they do that at the end when they destroy the like physical embodiment of fate. Uh, the so they and that's another thing that I think is interesting is the differences between remake and the original and the differences between rebirth and the original. In remake, it's still held pretty closely to the original story, but it's also because fate was a thing then. The whispers were still influencing them. Once they left Midgard, they no longer were influenced in that same way. So the stories, for the most part, leads to the same place, but the way they get there is wildly different. And you get a lot more story in Rebirth than you did in the original for this segment of the game. So that's part of the story. But yeah, if remake was implication, I would say Rebirth is confirmation. Because now, like, Sephiroth trying to manipulate Cloud is basically telling him flat out, just like, hey, the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm trying to gain power from all of these timelines instead of just one. So he's flat out saying there's multiple timelines. They show this multiple ways with Zack Fair, who in the original story died before the beginning of remake, or before the events of remake, but is apparently alive. It's in some other timeline now, and they show like the branching timeline effects and everything like that. Like every time you see a rainbow effect, the theory goes that whenever you see that rainbow effect, it's a timeline branching off. And so it gets pretty interesting with, like, when you mentioned, I believe, the different versions of Stamp, of the dog.
Yeah.
That is
And
another
the other
indicator
Cheyenne.
that that's an alternate timeline. Because you're
Right.
right.
Which, yeah.
Yeah, and like the one that we're first going through, he's a beagle. But there's another, like they show another one like at the end with Zack, where like the bag, the chip bag flies past him, and it's a terrier. There's another scene where it's a pit bull or a bulldog. There's it's all implications of it's all confirmations of this alternate timeline theory.
I
I'm hoping
I want
that
this. Go ahead.
I'm hoping that in Revelation, that the word that I can use for that is application, where now that they know that this is a thing, they're able to actually utilize it in some way. That's what I'm hoping, that they go like start to really dig into that. But anyways, what were you gonna say?
I want this. I want this game to be for me, and especially 'cause I love story driven games, but like I still really it's like it's held together with bubblegum and baling wire. Like it makes me I don't, if it got coalesced into a way that was whole, didn't have holes in it, and wasn't
Well,
too absurd, where all these threads were tied together, were woven together properly. Like I would love to read this book.
yeah,
I don't have the kind of game time budget to spend to play this game in a way that I would enjoy it, that I would like. I would watch the movie if it got put together well. I would read the
yeah,
book, but like for me to be also having the battles and the game mechanics, like there's got to be a better balance between one and the other. It's too big. It's
yeah,
daunting and too big, and I'm not going to. It would take me years and years to get where I felt I had played this game enough that I knew it, that I had a relationship with the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, and
I
that's
don't. The pacing isn't what I need to feel like I've accomplished what I
well,
get out of games.
yeah. I mean, I can understand if there's anything that I've alluded to, it's that there's a lot. Uh, and
And I
this
love
is
stories. I love stories where like I'm trying to figure out how that ties in and how it fits together
yeah.
and what's gonna happen next. And I love it when I'm wrong. I'm not wrong as often as I should. But this is it's just gonna be like I really feels like they didn't write it in order. There was never a beginning,
Well,
middle, end. Like
and
so
part of that
that's
is
gonna make me
because
crazy.
yeah. I think part of that is because they've taken one story and divided it into 3 games. So the each individual part of it isn't necessarily a whole story. So there's a lot of things that in remake that were explained in Rebirth, and like there's still stuff in remake that they haven't really tacked down yet, which they might get into in Revelation. Uh, like they do,
And hopefully they do, but that's not
yeah.
good structure.
I mean, that's
I
why,
would be I if I get to a book and there's loose ends, I will never read a book from that author again. Like
and
I just it's
I can understand that from a story aspect. Uh, it's just I see this as I don't see each individual game as its own thing because
mhm
it's all part of one story. Um,
mhm
so I look at each game as an act in one story.
mhm
Um,
yeah.
so
And it's pretty and the
yeah,
mechanics look great and there's a lot of fun in there. It's too big for me. It's too big a commitment for me.
yeah. I mean, I find it kind of funny that like the reason why we're even talking about this and the reason why I still consider this a part-time game
Mhm
from an actual gameplay standpoint. Uh, because it is still very heavily story driven. It's still very heavily chapter driven and region driven and everything like that. It gives you a lot of natural off ramps where it's like, okay, I've completed this segment of the story. I feel like I've accomplished something. You know, like you can do a like if you really just dig into the story, you can get through a chapter in like an hour and a half. And that's a big amount of actually like
That's a big
story.
chunk of time though.
What's that?
That's a big chunk of time. I
Well,
mean
I
those
mean,
off
and
ramps are good and it's good that they exist, but that's like I as a part-time gamer, like I feel like an hour is I can take that time. Like
yeah,
anybody who's got small kids. I mean, your kids are smaller than mine, um, and your only game time is after they're finally in bed. I
yeah,
have like an hour without staying up too late. I want to feel like I accomplished, something and I had a good time.
yeah,
Whether it takes you half that time to unwind and get out of your head and get your head in the game, right?
yeah.
Like, um, yeah.
I
I just
understand.
feel like it's big. Yeah.
This is yeah. I mean,
Like in WoW. WoW has a flexibility to it that worked really well when my kids were little. Because even if I just had a little time, if they were at a friend's house or something, you get more time, you can go play chunks and do, whatever dungeons and progression. But I could jump in and do some herbalism and fishing and get ready for my game night where I put raid time aside. Like I had other
yeah,
stuff I could go just jump in and out and accomplish something. Um, Even though it's such a big, epic, game and seems like
yeah,
this, commitment. But Final Fantasy really strikes me as, and a lot of them, not just this one, these are widow makers. Like game widows.
yeah,
I'm very familiar with this from, I have a husband who's very addiction prone and knows it and has to manage his game time. And Um, I could see him. He
I mean,
didn't. He actually wasn't going crazy about Rebirth, but Oblivion. He's just if he gets in there, forget it.
yeah.
Hours and hours and hours.
I mean, and I don't know. I guess it's mileage may vary. I guess, for me personally, I can go through, even a part of a chapter, because even within a chapter, there's a bunch of different smaller segments.
Hmm.
Uh, and like feeling like I've advanced the story is for me much more impactful than just a game I'm playing right now, which we will not talk about on the show ever, is Pal World, because it is my even though I don't usually like open world games. Sometimes I do have a hyperfixation on them for about 100 hours, and then I never play them again. Currently, that's Pal World. Uh, maybe it is an actual sense of nostalgia towards Pokemon, because that's definitely hitting that. But every so often, I do get kind of that mode of like, hey, I can play through this open world game. Uh, but it's like yesterday, since my kids are gone for the next 2 weeks, spent literally like 5 hours on Pal World, and feel like I accomplished literally nothing. I was doing
Oh,
activities the entire time. But most of it was like, okay, how do I want to make my base more efficient? And spent like 5 hours moving stuff back and forth, and like almost ended up with the exact same setup I started with. Uh,
so there wasn't really leveling or character growth or
no.
yeah.
Like there's no real story advancement. It's basically like, okay, I was out gathering, and I like made one base of food base and another base of production base.
That's a different kind of game.
Yeah, I mean but that's the thing, is like that's why I still consider this to be a part-time game, is because even if it's like, okay, I got 2 steps further in the story,
Hmm.
that feels more impactful than the 5 hours I spent playing Pal World. Even though it's not even a complete chapter, but I
Sure.
still learned more about the characters. I still advanced the story. Um,
Maybe my thing is I feel like I wouldn't be able to put it down. It would
I
take
don't
away other time because I would
know. I
have
mean,
to spend those amounts of time to get the story. Like,
oh yeah.
like one more
I mean,
chapter type of
possibly.
progression. Um,
I mean, I think it's funny the fact that, like, from what we're describing, the figuring out the story outside of the game is the part that's less part-timer than actually playing the game.
yeah.
There's like you have like, holy crap, going through, like, I actually
I
did
mean, I just
watch.
tend to think of the concept of stuff with like stuff that has matches.
Yeah.
So you just ahead of time
Yeah.
how much time like you need to give it to get to your next off point.
Yeah.
And it feels like you said there are natural off points. I'd be curious about the timing of that as they actually exist in Final Fantasy, and I don't know that we know that um,
Well,
reliably to like.
yeah, it does vary, because it is very story driven. Like, even if you're just mainlining the story, uh different parts of the story have different lengths. Like,
Hmm.
even playing through remake, like, I think my last stream that I did was like an hour and a half, and it took me through 2 chapters. But I think there was another stream where I had it set to hard mode, and one boss took me like half an hour to beat. uh
Yeah, a
so it's
lot
like
depends on that kind of stuff too.
yeah. I mean, if you're just mainlining the story and you have it like on normal or casual, where like combat isn't really the main motivator, you could probably get through a lot of the chapters in less than an hour. Um, and like I said, even if you're not completing a full chapter, just advancing that story, still feels satisfying.
Yeah,
Um,
good.
so again, that's why I still consider it a part-time game.
Sure.
Because you can advance that story a little by little. Um, yeah, man, just trying to figure out we're alluding to, like just trying to figure out the story behind it, like what's going on overall. Holy
Yeah.
crap, there is so much. Oh, and I like the fact that it's not just on the nose, where it's like this very easily could have started off like it could have started off and continued on with it's like, oh, just a very simple hero beats the bad guy. You know, it could have had much less nuance in that respect, and still probably would have been an entertaining. I almost called it a show, entertaining game. But the fact that they have that much nuance, the fact that it's like something is weird here, and like having that unreliable narrator type trope, having
Yeah,
like
really interesting
yeah, it does. I
way
think
to tell it.
that really does. I think add more interest to the story itself, uh, than just having it be hero beat the bad guy. But uh, that we've already been talking for quite a bit about this, and that's probably where we're going to stop for tonight. But we are going to be doing a follow up because there are still some huge elements that we have not reached, which we will do so next week. I am still in contact with John Jagger. I do want to get him back on here to talk about Rebirth. Even though apparently he hasn't finished yet, which I'm surprised.
Yeah.
But we'll see. 'Cause I really want to talk to him about a certain event that happens in this game, and get his opinion on that. But yeah, that's where we're going to end for tonight. Yeah, we'll be back next week for our follow up. But yeah, everyone, thank you for listening. If you like what you've heard and like to help us out, a few ways you can do that are by giving us a review over on Apple Podcast. Follow my Twitch channel for our live recording starting Sunday nights at 9:15 Eastern Time for our Tech Check. This show starts proper at 9:30. You can follow my YouTube channel for the VODs, which are up pretty much right after we're done recording. Technically, we are streaming live to YouTube as well, but I have it unlisted because I want it just to be a VOD. But that goes up right after we're done recording. Or you can leave us a tip over on our Ko-fi. If you'd like to contact us, you can with our email, parttimegamers.cast@gmail.com, or you can join our Discord channel. You can find this show and links to everything around it using the link bit.ly/CI Productions. Ember, where can people find you around the internet?
Oh, the easiest thing to do is go to 9of12.com. That's NINAOF12.com. It'll point you to all my projects.
Yep, and normally you're able to find Theo here when work is not being done.
Yeah.
But we're still trying to get him to update the show notes about where you can find him elsewhere, legally. Anyways, but yeah, until next time, and our follow up to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we are the Part-Time Gamers clocking out. Before I do that, I need to hit the right button. There we go.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.